It seems the sins of Disney Lucasfilm's Star Wars sequel trilogy continue to plague the Fortune 500 company, this time finally spilling over solidly, it seems, according to some reports out there, into the Galactic Starcruiser's bookings, which have fallen sharply in the months ahead. And Disney is probably trying to figure out what in the world to do at this point. And will they actually have the guts to make the changes they need to make in order for that hotel to still be a viable option down the road? Joining me today, my friend, on this topic, Drunk 3PO. Here we go. Renegade Online. Well, welcome back, folks. Another great day here at Valiant Renegade. It's great to see all of you out there once again. And if you guys are like one of the many folks watching this video, not yet subscribed, please take a moment, hit that like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, share this sucker out on the social medias, and of course, please do leave a comment before you head out the door today. YouTube loves the comments. And I've got a great guest here with me today, and make sure you guys are subbing to Jay over at Drunk 3PO, at Park Hoppin', at Jay Walking the Planet, at my God, you got like 425
I got a few, don't I? We got a
channels
few.
now.
Yeah.
You had a great video this morning with some updates on the Galactic Starcruiser. And it's something that frankly, you predicted quite a long time ago. People like you, like WDW Pro at that parkplace.com, you know, you guys, you have boots on the ground. You're in the parks on a regular basis. You see what's going on. You were one of the first people to cover things like the fact that the Galaxy's Edge merchandising schematic had radically changed. From all of a sudden you had a bunch of Sequel Trilogy merch, and then almost overnight it flipped to Mando, Grogu, OG Star Wars. You know, basically signaling that Disney realizes what is selling and what isn't selling. And this hotel has been like just, I mean, $5,000, $6,000.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, talk about it a little bit.
It's, you know, the concept was like a cool idea when they're like, hey, how would you guys like to spend a couple nights immersive in a Star Wars hotel, meeting your characters, flying an X-Wing, you know, doing all the kind of cool stuff that we know Star Wars, lightsaber training and all that. So it was like, it was a cool idea. And then they announced, the way they did this was so weird. They announced the first retractable lightsaber, right? They started showing these clips of like Rey holding a retractable lightsaber, then DeMaro was holding it. And you're just kind of like, everybody's like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to buy it. And they're like, yeah, only at Galaxy's Edge. Then all of a sudden it broke that we're actually not selling those lightsabers. We just were showing them off for no apparent reason.
Couldn't get them to work right.
And everybody was like, why would you show it off if you're not selling it? And then the announcement came. They're like, you could see Rey use it at the Galactic Starcruiser. Everybody clap.
The what?
Yeah, no.
Please clap.
Maybe. So then they released the first teaser commercial. And everyone's watching it. I mean, everyone from like Star Wars, Disney fans, everyone, they're like, ooh, what was that? To the point where Disney did something we never, ever see them do. They took the commercial down. So you already know, like, that's like red flags flying.
Yeah.
And after the commercial, one of my friends that works there called me and was like, dude, it's a disaster and they're not even promoting it right. And I was given the script of like what's supposed to happen, and so I did a video on it, and the video did really, really well, and it was like mentioned in many publications. And people in the comment section were like, this dude who doesn't even like Disney Star Wars sold me on the hotel better than Disney did. And I just kind of went through the whole thing, and then finally when we got to see what was inside, we were all like, what is this mess? You know, it's like sequel trilogy only. They decided to rewrite the lore. They started to write books saying Han and Leia had their honeymoon here, so why don't you come? Padme and Anakin were here doing stuff. Why don't you come? And it's just like,
and now Andor too, if I'm not mistaken. And again, you predicted this very early on. They were going to try to ram this hotel into every aspect of every era of Star Wars that ever has been, ever was, or ever will be in terms of commercial promotion. And I completely agreed with you. They have too much money invested in this thing. And while their $5,000 and $6,000 price tags or whatever the hell they are have gotten some early adopters, as you and I talked about, it might have been a year ago now, there was going to be a limited audience for that. That price to value ratio was going to be very limited in terms of those early adopters, and they were probably going to hit somewhat of a brick wall in terms of bookings relatively early on. And we're less than a year from the hotel's opening, or less than a year after the hotel's opening, I should stipulate. And we're already seeing signs of that.
It's really sad to see, because I don't know who they were talking to or who went to them and said, this is a great idea. Like, it'll sell for years to come. And when the bookings started to fall, so I was told that in order for it to be operational and work, I guess, to make money, it has to be at 80%. So now they're taking it at 25% booking, which is way below. Like, a hotel not even a regular hotel couldn't survive on 25%.
No, not in a long-term situation. No.
Yeah. And like paying staff and all that stuff like that. And so now they've cut hours of the staff. They just sent out something a month ago where they're hiring an entire new cast, like everybody from Rey to Kylo to the dancers to the singers. And I was like, why are they doing that? And now it's perfectly clear that they're just going to hire a bunch of part-timers. So that way they could save money. Now they started giving away hotel like stays to travel agents in hope that they would push it as far as, as far as travel agency goes. Travel agencies they're not what they used to be either.
No.
It's like I can go online and book the whole thing and I'm ready to go. So, but the worst part was they were like, to increase bookings for the month of December, they were going to do Life Day, the Christmas holiday Star Wars special, which was the worst thing to ever come out of the George Lucas era. It was so bad. He tried to get that erased from existence. That's why you can never buy it. That's why, like, it showed once, like, on TV, and everyone was like, what the freak was that? And George was like, get that out. It's out of here.
But you know, to its credit, it's one of those things that was so bad that it's become iconic.
It's a cult
I don't know if Disney has done anything like that. Exactly. You laugh at it, but it's treasured in its own right. I mean,
the problem is with cult classics is that it doesn't make money. But they doubled down, so they teased it. They started selling crazy Life Day merch with Rey, BB-8, Chewbacca in the big robe, and it looked terrible. Like, we laughed at it. And then come January and February, it was in the bargain bin at the theme parks. And you're just like, do they not learn? You're going to take the worst thing from the Lucas era and put it with the worst thing in the Disney era, which is the sequel trilogies, and say, this is a match made for success. Everybody can stop back and looking at this is the dumbest idea ever. And the worst part about it is speaking with some of the people over there, that there have been meetings of changing it up to add original trilogy, to add prequel, to add Mando, to add Baby Yoda. They got to put Baby Yoda if it won't sell. And there's like what I was told, there was a pride issue where it's like, we can't put any like Lucas stuff in there. And that's not really our creation. Because they don't want to be embarrassed that if they changed it to like Luke and Vader and Han and Leia and all that stuff, that it would begin to sell more. And it's like, this sold more than our stuff. We're embarrassed. But what's embarrassing now is you've got staff employees that are losing hours and losing money. Yeah. They'll probably look for work elsewhere.
Real people are getting hurt.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you're letting your pride just like destroy people's lives and stuff. And the crazy report that a lot of people weren't talking about was there was they were looking for experienced staff members. And there was a real issue there because some of the experienced staff members were working at some of the most fancy hotels on Disney property. And they work hard to get there. The reason why? Because you're serving like 4 tables and getting hundreds of dollars in tips.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, once we get this job, we don't want to leave. Like, this is my retirement.
The wait staff on the Disney cruises. I did a Disney cruise back in 2018. I can tell you at the end of that cruise, our waiter, who, of course, if you're on the cruise ship, you get the same server every night. He follows you around and his whole group during your rotation on the ship to different restaurants, based on your booking. And I mean, he got, I think, $250 at the end of that 5-day cruise from me as a tip, along with the housekeeping staff, probably another $100 for that week. And they serve dozens of families that are aboard. So I mean, you multiply that out, you start doing the math. Yeah. So people don't want to leave those good jobs to come to the Galactic Starcruiser
Disney
and get
took some of those people and said, "You're so good, we need you over here." And so the tips, there's no tips there. It's already, put in your price. Like, so basically you pay for it and the tips are already included. So they do get tip money, but it's not, it's not me saying, "Man, you did really good. Here's an extra 100." You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So now they move them over after leaving a really good job that they loved, and now their hours are being cut to part-time, and they're like, "Look what you did to me," and
is it also fair to assume that there's probably no going back to that previous job because it's probably already been filled?
Oh, it's filled quick because people people work 10 to 15 years to get those jobs at some of these high-class restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And because they know, like, once I'm in, it's easy street, you
think a waiter at Victoria and Albert wants to leave to go to the Galactic Starcruiser?
Exactly. You kidding me? I mean, some of those bills with like parties of like 10, that's thousands, man.
Oh yeah.
And so
those waiters at places like that are making 6 figures a year.
Easy.
Oh yeah.
Easy.
Because that's been the case in a lot of the restaurants, your upper scale restaurants in New Orleans, for the longest time. I mean, those people make bank and they don't want to be moved. Let me ask you this, though. You've had an interesting theory on the future of the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser Hotel, one which I like, and I happen to agree with, that if it's not already been in discussion and on the table, I think they're nuts. However, I think there's an issue with bean counters here. And of course, that theory is that you've mentioned many times, creating a 2 to 4 hour dinner package.
Day pass,
to go in there. I like that idea, and that's something that I think Disney definitely should be considering. And what I want your thoughts on, though, my concern, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of the bean counters, right now, barring any major pricing changes, which I'm pretty sure are going to have to come very, very soon, right? That's phase 1 is what we're seeing now. They're cutting back capacity. They're making... they're trying to squeeze as much, like the old saying goes, squeeze as much blood out of the turnip as you can when you can't. Try to get as many of these people still in that are willing to pay the $5,000 and $6,000, but they're obviously reaching a breaking point. They're going to have to do capacity reductions. They're going to have to do price reductions next, and then we're probably looking at making the actual changes in the content of the hotel is going to be the big overhaul, where Mando and Grogu are going to have to come in and replace Kylo and Ren, because it's become clear, regardless of fandom or not, money talks and poop walks, that Kylo and Ren ain't selling in there. And they're going to have to make changes. So my question is, what do you think about the bean counters looking at this going, well, if we offer a $200, I think was the figure that you kind of threw out there as an example. I think it would have to be probably $200 a person, because if you're selling a $6,000 day and a half stay at the Starcruiser, if you're going to sell the most valuable portion of that, which is the dinner theater, I would argue that's probably the most valuable portion of that trip.
I don't know, man. You see the food they're serving people? It's like 3 blue shrimp, some goldfish that you could buy at the grocery store, sprinkled on a plate.
When I say the most valuable, I'm saying probably in the public's eye, what may be the most valuable, the most sought-after portion of the experience on that. Not to say that that's the portion that costs Disney the most money, right? Because you're right. The food looks, frankly, very cheap. But I think that's on the table, but I'm thinking right now the bean counters are trying to figure out, before we go that route and we really cut the experience here, how far down the pricing scale, How far down this price to value relationship are we going to have to slide that needle to where we figure out that, well, we can't charge $5,000 in the long run for this same experience. Let's see how many more people, let's exhaust the next level of fan with $3,000. We're going to charge $3,000 for this experience now.
I don't think they'll do it.
That would be a huge drop in one time. Let's say 4,000 instead of 5,000. They go to 4,000.
I don't think they'll do it, man. I think their ego is it's just like, we don't want to look stupid, even though they look stupid now.
Well,
because we've seen them do this with other projects. So it took like some crazy thing for them to actually change. Like, let's look at Galaxy's Edge.
Mm-hmm.
They refuse to put Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, Luke Skywalker, Hans. They refuse to put any of those characters, even prequel characters. Only characters from The Last Jedi are allowed in Galaxy's Edge in Orlando. That's it. If you want a picture with Baby Yoda, this is what they do. There's some back wall near the entrance that you could stand next to, and they take your picture, and then they Photoshop Baby Yoda in, and you pay money for that. You don't even get to see it. They're like, all right, put your hand up like this, and like, do that, and then you get a photo.
Digitally edited in. There's not even a physical doll.
It's not even there.
Oh, geez.
So exactly. So in California, the Galaxy's Edge in California, they realized with the Avengers campus that every time a new Avengers film or show come out, they're able to get the characters in like before the show comes out, interact with fans, take photos and all that stuff like that. And it's a great marketing for whatever. Like from Loki, the Witch, I mean, all of them. Just name one and they're there. With Galaxy's Edge, they're like, we got to keep the timeline. We can't do it because people care about the timeline. Nobody cares about the time. Nobody cares.
No.
So they started like teasing, like, all right, let's put Boba Fett in. It was a huge hit. Let's put this in. All right, now they finally put Mandalorian only on the California side. They don't want to do that on the Orlando side because people are at the Starcruiser and they want them to feel immersive when they take that little box truck ride into Galaxy's Edge. So if they see Darth Vader walking around, they'll be like,
something
hey,
that's
he's not
out
in
of
the
era. Yeah.
He's not in the timeline. How dare you? I want my money back. But when you think about that, it's like, it's so dumb. You know where Darth Vader is in Orlando? He's next to Buzz Lightyear. They put him in Tomorrowland if you wanted pictures. And you're just like, how dumb can you possibly be? Like, how dumb can you be? Like, people don't care about the timeline. First of all, they don't really care much about Rey. And it's such an easy fix. It's like, original trilogy characters will be there from like 11 to 1 walking around. The prequels will be here. The sequels will be here. That's all you have to do. It's not rocket science to walk around. You could change that with the hotel. The hotel is designed because they did this already for people to have a 4-hour pass. It's designed that way because the people that are staying in the hotel can go to dinner theater A and do their excursions. Mm-hmm. The other group can go to dinner theater B and be completely separated from the people staying the night. And the other excursions that they can offer can be separated completely from the people staying there. It's a real easy switch over. The main thing that they have to think about is how they would get like 50 people from Galaxy's Edge over to the dinner theater because that little box truck only holds like 12 to 15. So it's like if you buy a ticket, so if they start offering this, which if they do, it'll be like, hey, you want to buy it? Like you add it on your ticket and you make sure you're here wherever at 1:00 and you could do a couple little things in the hotel, like shoot the TIE fighters, play bingo, maybe a Star Wars like lightsaber training. And then
watch
you could
Chewbacca walk by.
Yeah, pretty much in his Life Day robe. And then like do the dinner theater and then they'll get you out. So they won't get the full like Kylo Ren and Rey fighting and all that other stuff.
Nobody cares.
It's just that's the thing. And it's also like,
let's be honest, nobody gives a crap.
It's just not done well. Like it looks like a high school play. And that's no disrespect to some high school musicals are done really well, but it's just not done well. And you're just kind of like, where did the money go and where did all this other stuff go?
With everything we just discussed and with kind of, realizing where the numbers are now, if you don't think, and I'm not saying I disagree with you, I think you there's a good chance you're right that Disney would not want to reduce the prices of the hotel, of the experience, significantly out of fear of looking, as you say, foolish. And I think I think you have something there. I think that you're potentially very right on that. If they're not going to do that, then do you think, is it your opinion, does that portend a more rapid change in the character structure of the hotel? So if they're not going to reduce the prices, they want to keep the prices at $4,000 and $5,000. Do you think perhaps that would force them, because they have to change something, right? If they're not going to change the prices, they have to change the attractiveness of the product to a wider fan base. Do you think that means that Mando, Grogu, and or OG Star Wars characters show up in the very near future as compared to what we may have thought before?
So I thought that would be the case, but now I don't, because anyone can go onto the Disney Career website and see what they're looking for. We saw these characters, I mean, a year before the Star Cruiser, like they were looking for auditions, and they just threw out another hire to hire the same cast again. And so they're looking for new people, and it would shock me that they would hire another Rey and a Kylo just for a month and be like, we're going to go with Baby Yoda next time. Sorry. And I just think that I think they'll reduce it. It'll be like a weekend thing, and then offer these little Groupon tickets and stuff. I just I don't see them changing the price.
What about multiple tours? What about having tours? You'd have a tour with Sequel Trilogy. And I think you and I talked about this before. Where I said, have a tour with Sequel Trilogy, have a tour with Mando-Verse, have a tour with OG. Have a tour with OG Luke, Leia, Han.
It's not that hard. To me, it's not that hard.
It's not.
It's an open shell, and it's like people aren't overly worried that like the chair doesn't resemble the same chair that I saw in like episode 3. Like, we're not openly worried about that. We just want to have like some fun. But what they've done, when you say $6,000 and it's like, well, what can I do? Well, you can go in this room and magically push rocks over. It's like, I can do that at home. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, well, give me something. Like, I want to be Luke and blow up the Death Star. The truth is, though, they can afford to take a hit on this because the Disney parks are still making money. So when you lump it all together, they can still look at it and be like, overall, the theme parks are doing well.
And they are.
So individually, certain things are working, certain things are not. But people are still coming to the parks. People are still paying the extra money for the Genie Plus. People, they're still full. So... well, it'll be all right. It'll pick back up later. It's like that's like kind of the mindset. They're like, we'll put the workers on part-time. We'll save some money there. It'll pick back up down the road a little bit, but the parks are still full. And once they start, the big news that a lot of people aren't talking about is, for the first time, I think ever, you have like, they did a census of like the top visited parks in America. And it was, of course, the Magic Kingdom was number one. It's always been number one for like before I was even born. Then 2 was Disneyland. But it used to be like Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios. Now Universal is number 3 and 4. So they have overtaken as far as numbers go. And it's like, once this epic universe opens up with like Super Nintendo World and all this other stuff, it's like, Disney better pay attention, because they're like sitting there like, we got the crown. They're not going to take it from us. And like they're slowly edging up.
Well, that's true, but there's also the issue of that Disney, like many companies, every company in their position, they're still going to look at an individual asset and start to realize that it's not the money that we are making, it's the money that we're not making on this. This is, it's the inefficient use of capital. So here's the thing. And this
all right, let me ask you this though. Disney hasn't been too smart about that recently.
They haven't.
They just kind of like looking at it. For me, and I'm just going by my own opinion, and please correct me, because it just looks like they just see, well, this is all Disney, and there's still money being poured in, so we're good. Yeah, but you lost money on these movies. No one's going to Star Wars, this and that. Yeah, but there's still money pouring in. There's
still money pouring in. You're right, Jay. You're absolutely right. However, I think from what I'm seeing is that they have had too many misses in the last few years. Their box office returns on their multi-$100 million projects have not been there. They got some goodwill coming off of what I used to call or still call the Spider-Man effect into Doctor Strange. Thor: Love and Thunder didn't have the Spider-Man effect. We saw what happened there.
Terrible.
It didn't make Disney any money at the box office. It goes straight to Disney Plus. There's no third-party licensing or distribution anymore for Disney. Disney movies, their earning potential is now almost completely 100% solely at the box office, and that's it. Lightyear lost hundreds of millions of dollars for Disney. Strange World is about to come out in less than 2 weeks, and that is looking like it's going to lose a ton of money for Disney.
I have no interest.
Yeah, nobody even knows it exists. Yeah. And you've got Wakanda Forever coming out in less than a week that, quite frankly, I don't think is going to do all that much better than Thor. So I mean, they're brick walling in too many different places to where they have to realize that, wait a minute, this is, we still make a bunch of money on sports. We still make a bunch of money on parks and resorts, linear television, broadcasting, our network of broadcast channels. But all this
Where
other
are
stuff,
they making money on Star Wars, man? That franchise is like
Star Wars, Marvel. Marvel is in a rapid decline, and they're spending a bunch of money right now to bring in a bunch of headline actors and stuff like that for phases 5 and 6, bringing back Hugh Jackman and all this kind of stuff. That's only going to get you so far.
Think about that.
That's only they're getting.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But man, is that a desperate plea for, "Hey, please watch our movies again"?
Well, here's the closing thought, and that is that we have the Disney earnings report Tuesday, November 8th, like in 3 days. Tuesday, November 8th, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be broadcasting it live here on Valiant Renegade, and not only is it the quarterly earnings report, but it is the end of fiscal year 2022 for Disney. So this is the earnings call where we usually get more than we usually do on an earnings call, because they're going to be talking about, now we're in fiscal 2023, here's what's a-coming. And there's usually some Q&A to that effect. I'm not saying that we're going to get information on specificity like the Galactic Starcruiser thing.
Hey, he said, though, Bob Paycheck is what I call him. He said, he's like, "Oh, that Starcruiser's doing so well. We're like already booked up past July."
Yeah, that was
said that on the last
ago.
earnings. And then now it's like, it's wide open, man. Like, it's like wide open.